Hey everyone, chapter 16 is marketing. And guess what? This week it's my birthday. See my birthday hat? Pretty good. All right, let's move on to the lesson. 16.1 is taking opinion surveys. So we compute the rate of a response in an opinion survey. We need to do a test. This might involve just asking yes or no questions or letting people take stuff home to try out products for themselves. Opinion research firms are the ones who do all the hard work making these surveys. And the opinion survey itself are the set of questions or ratings that people give feedback on. So let's look at the math for this section. You're calculating a percent, and when we calculate percents, we divide numbers. So let's take a look, for example, at the company Coca-Cola. Turns out Coca-Cola gets about 49% ratings for people's first choice for a type of soda. So if I survey about 1,000 people, that goes in the denominator because that's how many responses I get. 490 of them are expected to say that they prefer Coke products. Now, I might be a little bit off with my guess, so let's look at that. If my prediction was about 55% for Coke products, then about 550 people out of 1,000 might be my guess, but 490 was the actual answer. So subtract those, I was 60 people off. So calculate the relative error. We take out of 1,000, that's your denominator. 60 was how much I was off, or my absolute error. And we get 0.06 in your calculator, or 6%. So I was pretty close, not too bad. In section 6.2, you'll calculate sales potential. And when you're coming out with a new product, it's important to see what kind of potential you have for selling that product. Our time period is usually about a year in these problems. Your sample is a group of people who you're working with, and the market is the total number of people who might purchase the product. Now, for something like Coca-Cola, that might be the entire world, but for something like my tutoring company, that might just be the city of Woodland and maybe some people from Davis for my markets. So sometimes markets are really big and sometimes they're small. Our lesson formula for this is a lot of multiplication. Notice the things that make sales potential go up are the estimated market size, the individual rate of purchase, and the percent of potential purchasers. So for Coca-Cola, the percent of total purchasers we calculated as 0.49%. That number should sound familiar. If you drink about 52 sodas in a year, that's about one a week, that might be an individual rate of purchase. And Coca-Cola might estimate the market size for soda about 71 million people. Multiply those all together, Coca-Cola needs to make about 1,809,000,000 cans of soda a year in order to fulfill its market share. So market share, we dig deeper into in section 3, and market share is the percent of the market and versus the competing market. So market share, Coca-Cola has a big market share of soda products. So calculate that using a division problem. It's a part over whole type of calculation. So for Coca-Cola, about 1,809,000,000 out of 3,692,000,000 is about their 49% market share. So divide out those numbers that you find in those problems. Now, section 4 requires a couple different methods. One is the factor method and one is graphing to determine projected sales, because hopefully sales for products increase over time. So sales projection, hopefully during a future time period, you're expecting your company to grow. The factor method we'll take a look at. That is a formula, but also a factor expressed as a percent. So first, the formula, we're multiplying market sales times the market share factor for our projected sales. But another way you can do this is by reading a graph. So here's an example graph that you might see in your homework. You might be asked to look at a certain year. So let's say the question said in the year 2030 about how much is going to be sold. And so you come up to the graph and you go over to the left, about 16 million sales would be the answer there. Some of your problems require you to use the formula in this homework assignment. Some of the problems require you to read a graph. And one of the problems does require you to actually make a graph. So make sure you do a good job on that. Use all units and labels for your axes, provide a title at the beginning, and that's a wrap.